Don't forget to subscribe to the channel TKD Health Tips. So today, as a part of this video, we're going to explore the custom actions and creating the first custom action using Apex class. So we are going to use the Einstein Copilot with custom actions for business specific to like how for business use case we need to use flows or Apex and prompt builders. So till now we have understood that the Copilot can solve questions it finds for suitable actions. We have few standard actions, but we know that to truly help the agents, the Copilot will have to help them answer or perform their daily task. And since we know that in each org, business requirement would be different. So now it's the job of admins and devs of that particular org to build custom actions that will help Copilot solve queries specific to their org. Now to build the custom actions, there are different options available. We can use Apex to create custom actions. We can use prompt templates, we can use flows, and we can also use external services which will now we have to be now we've been writing Apex code and flows for years now, and we just need to define the and write parameters, and then the code or the flow that we have already written will become available to be used as custom actions. Let's go back to our Copilot. And in this one, we have already seen that the Copilot is able to help us answer a few of the questions using the standard actions. Now, let's say in the or the agent has to frequently work on a request which requires dealing with zip codes and the cities. Now, let's say few of the zip codes were very often, and they would like to know what is the city of that. They can actually go by going to Google and finding out the correct. But now, since they have Einstein Copilot, their own AI assistant, we want Copilot to help them solve such queries. Now, let's give this prompt and let's see what Einstein Copilot comes up with. We are saying that the find the name of the city whose zip code is 90210. So as we understand from our Copilot builder at this point, the Copilot is actually looking for an action which can help it find the city name for this zip code. But unfortunately, there is no such actions available right now for the Copilot. Hence, it is not able to give us the right response. So this is where we have to write custom actions that will be given to the Einstein Copilot so that it can solve such kind of queries. So to solve this, you need a service which accepts zip code and gives the city name. Now there are many APIs. One of them is this one. To this API, you pass the zip code and the country. Country is optional. You can just pass the code and it will tell you the name of that city. Now let's just utilize this API service. Now to utilize the service, the first thing that we need is the API key. And we see that to make a call to this endpoint, we would have to pass the API key. So to get the API key, let's open this website again. And here you can click on to get your API key. Now it will ask you to create your own user, so you can give your name, your email, your password and confirm. This will create your user account on this website, and once you have that, you can click on the login. And I already have an account, so let me just log in with that. So I just logged in, and you see I'm logged in with my user, and in the dashboard you will see that my key is available here. Every time we make a call out to this endpoint, and on this endpoint we will have to pass the zip code in the parameter called codes. We will pass our zip code and we also will pass the API key, and it will return back with the city name. Now, as a best practice while working with integration, we should utilize Postman to see what is the response that we are getting from the endpoint. So now to do that, let me just open my Postman. I will create a new request. The endpoint will be this. Let's just copy this endpoint and come to our Postman. This is the URL. This is the endpoint. We are passing the zip code as 90210. Along with this, we pass the API key. Now we go back to the documentation of zip code test, then we see that we need to pass the code. Also, we have to pass the API key in the header. So let's just copy this, go back to Postman. Here in the header, we add the API key. value will be the same. The API key will be given by the zip code desk, which is this one. Let's copy that and add here. We are making a call to zip code desk for zip code 90210 and passing the API key. So it will return back with some response. We see that the response is in the results, and the results is the city name. The city name is this. So it has other parameters also, but our integration we only need city. So now let's make a call. How do we get the response? We only have to pass the results in that we have city, and that's the city name that we want to display on the UI. So let's utilize this API in our Apex class, which will make call out to this endpoint, passing the zip code to the city name. And for the interest of time, I have already created the Apex class. This is the Apex class called zip code to find city finder, which has a method called getCity for zip code, which is accepting the list of zip codes. Because this method is annotated as invocable method, and we know that invocable method only accepts the list of integers. So we are passing the list of integers here, but we will only get one zip code out of it. So I'm getting the first zip code from the 0th index. So here we are making a simple REST API callout. We are making a callout to the same API, passing the zip code here and then passing the API key also in the header. As we saw in our Postman, we have to make callout here. We have to pass the zip code and also have to pass the API key. So then we should be able to make callout to this endpoint again. In Salesforce, we should add this URL in the remote site setting, and that I have already added. So I go to the remote site settings. I have added the URL in the remote site settings, which means that the Salesforce will allow me to make a callout to this endpoint. So as we saw that the city name comes in the results. So we have to pass the result object in that we have city name. So this city name that we are returning from this Apex method. So the job of this method is very simple. It makes call out to this endpoint passing the zip code. Once it receives a response, it parses the response and finds the city and return it back. Now let's come to the main point. How do we make this method available to be used by Einstein Copilot? So to do this, it's very simple. We just need to annotate this method as invocable method. Every method which is annotated as invocable method can be used to create custom Copilot actions. Yay! So we just need to annotate this method as invocable method. So every method which is annotated as invocable can be used to create custom pilot actions, which means that Einstein Copilot can invoke this method. This is very similar how we make any method available to be used in the flows. So there also we just make the method as invocable method, and then that method becomes accessible in the flows. Similarly, when we make a method invocable, then it becomes available to be used in custom actions. So this method is an invocable method. That is why I had to accept the parameters in the list of integers. As you know, invocable method only accepts integers as parameter, and it also responds by in the list form only. Before using this invocable method to create our custom action, let's first ensure that this method is working fine, which means that we pass the zip code, it is giving up the right city name. So let's do that. Let's just invoke it by an anonymous block. I'm calling this method get a city for zip code from this class, passing the zip code is 90210. Just invoke it. And in the debug log, we can see that it's giving the correct city name, which means that this method is working fine. Able to make a call out and get the city name. Let's utilize this to create our custom action. Go back to the custom pilot, then we will understand how we can use the Apex method as a Copilot function. Let's click on a new Copilot action. We discussed the Copilot action can be created using Apex flow or prompt template. So we'll select Apex method and let's select Apex. So it should show you all the invocable methods since our method is annotated with invocable. Hence that is available here. So let's select it and click on next. And here we have different fields which are mandatory to be filled in to make this action available. So the first one is Copilot action instruction. This is the most important field when we are discussing about the planning phase of Einstein Copilot. How does Einstein Copilot finds out that this is the correct action that it should be used to solve this problem? So that is by looking into the instruction. So here we would write as much details as possible for Einstein Copilot to read it and understand that, okay, this action can solve this particular requirement. So here we have to give the instruction like what this action is. And then in this action, since we are passing the zip code as the input parameter, we have to tell that what is the input parameter where Einstein Copilot can look for it, whether it is something that user will give or whether the Copilot has to find it from the context. For example, if I'm saying that the record, then he might have to find it by the account name or lead name that is already given in the context. But here we are expecting that zip code will be given by the user. So we have to instruct our Copilot where to find that zip code. The zip code is of type integer. It has already taken it from the apex method and it knows that it is returning a list of string, basically string, and that is the type of string. So that's the data type here. Now we have few checkboxes. Here we are saying that this is the field required. Yes, it is required because if we are not entering the zip code, then how do we find the city name? Does the Copilot has to get the data from user? Most probably user would have to be pre-filled, specified in the request, so we may not have to be entered. So when we want that, Copilot should stop and ask user to provide the information. Then we will check this box. But in this case, the user have already given a zip code, so we will not check it now. The third option is mask personally identifiable information. So here is the question or whether the information is given is PII data and we do not want to send this to action. We can check this. Similarly, the output panel here, we have instruction here where we have to specify how to show this output on the UI. So we have given and we have some check boxes like filter from Copilot action shown in conversation. This is really important. We are saying that the output of this action should be shown to UI. Yes, we want that to happen. Should we mask the PII information? No. We are not going to get the PII information. Even if we get, we may want to show it on the UI. So that can be selected through this checkbox. But now let's come back to the important fields here, which is the instruction field. So for this Copilot, we have to give it instruction. I must copy paste the instruction here. And we are saying that this action finds the name of the city based on the zip code given to it. For example, when the user asks find the name of the city whose zip code is this, you can give just a few examples here, then it returns the city name. So here, what we're trying to say here is we are trying to give some of the utterances and it will be really great if you can give some more examples here so that Copilot understand that what are the different utterances it might find when it is going to. It will look up here and it says, okay, this is something which I can help the city name based on the zip code. So it might use this action. So the information that it needs to understand whether the action is appropriate or not will be decided based on the instruction that we are going to pass here. So the next is input field. For input field, we have to give an instruction. We are saying that the zip code value for which city needs to be find. So in prompt, if the user has to set find the city for zip code 90210, then here we are saying that 90210 is the input that it should be sent to this action. And for the output, we can say that show the name of the city to the user, which means it should be shown on the UI. Since we have checked this show in conversation, so the moment we click on finish button, it should create a custom action for us, zip code to find the city. So make an Apex method available as a custom action. We just have to annotate it with invocable method. This is how we make it invocable method, and then this method becomes available as a custom action. And now the instruction that we are talking about, which we gave while creating a custom action, can directly be added here on the method level, which means that we can actually give description. So like this, it's the same description. We are saying that it's invocable method and the description of about this method. Now what is the benefit of this is now if you let's say you have so many invocable methods, you can actually define what that method is doing here. So let's go back and try to create the same custom action again. Now you'll see that the description that you are given to the invocable method is directly populated as section of this Copilot action. So this is one way where you will specify about what method at the method level itself. So this will help the custom action understand what that method is doing. So I'm not going to create that action because we have already created one action. Now we will see that we had all these standard actions. Next step is to assign the action to our Copilot. Let's go back to our Copilot builder here. If we refresh, we should see the new action, but where it is, it's not available here because these are the available action and we have just created a new one. So it should be available in the Copilot action library. So we have action here, but we won't be able to assign it to the Copilot because the Copilot is currently active. So the first step is to deactivate the Copilot, and then we can assign this to Copilot here. Now we have assigned this action to our Copilot. So which means that now if we have given the same prompt which we have tried here, what it said that I am not able to answer this question, let's give the same. We have not activated the Copilot, which is again which is the best practice. We have to activate it whenever we are getting actions. We have to first test it. So if our Copilot is able to use that action properly or not. So let's give the same prompt. At this point, we should be able to see that if it is pulling out the correct action or not. So this time we see that it is saying the city name for this zip code 90210. And how did it find it? If it find it through the zip code to city finder, which is basically our custom action that we have created. So what would have happened here? It is would have called this apex method, passed the zip code name. This method would have made a call out and would have been written the city name. That is what displayed on the screen. Let's give it another try. Find the city name for, let's say, 10001. And exactly what I'm doing here is I'm trying to give different utterances. Sometimes the user might say, find this name of the city whose zip code is this. And sometimes they might simply say, find the city name for 10001. It is able to find the correct action and it is able to give us the right value. So let's give it one more time. What is the city name for zip code 975207? So here I'm giving a different utterance. So it is again able to find the right value by utilizing the same Copilot action. So now we are confident that the custom action is working fine in terms of logic written within. Which is helping the Copilot to find the correct action. Then we can go ahead and activate our Copilot so that now it is available for the real agents also. So let's just refresh here. Now this Copilot has standard action as well as one custom action which we have created just now. So if any agent asks the same question, it should be able to help agent solve that question. So now it is able to tell the city name for this zip code. So this was a very simple example of how to create a custom action. So to create a custom action, we can just go to our Einstein Copilot actions, click on the Copilot action, and we can select the type. Now, since we are working with the Apex right now, any method which has an annotation of invocable will be available as a Copilot action. And the reason that our method was available as a Copilot action is that we do have one invocable method. Annotation was given here, and you have added the description also, which actually helped the Copilot to understand what this method is doing. So we don't have to write it again. And the best practice is we have to give as much as information to our Copilot so that it is correct action that it should take to perform the specific need. And that is why our action is available here. And the instruction for the description that you have given at the invocable method level becomes the action of our Copilot.